The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the host and their guests and not those of W4CY Radio, its employees, or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements for radio show programs, services, or products mentioned on air or on our web. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to W4CY Radio or its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing W4CY Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in, everyone, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics for as long as I can remember. Words are very important to me, and that's why I'm so thrilled to host this show. I believe that every song is a story. Songwriter Show is broadcast live on number one ranked W4CY Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every state in the United States. The station is licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio, and exposure to over 300 million listeners. I'm going to tell you a little bit about our first guest tonight. Lachi is a singer, songwriter, and record producer. She's worked with major labels and producers on the national and international level. She's collaborated with hip-hop legends like Snoop Dogg and Styles and EDM powerhouses like Marcus Schultz. She's performed in lineups with Patti LaBelle, Questlove Gala, and Fred Amundsen's. Her music's been featured on Huffington Post, Oprah Radio, MTV, NPR, and many, many other placements. Welcome to the show, Lachi. How are you doing tonight?
I am doing amazing. Thank you so much.
Well, I got to tell you, your name is, you have a cool name. You got to tell us, let's start with you telling us a little bit about your name.
So my parents are from West Africa. And so our tradition is that you have what they call a Christian name, and then you have your, quote, real name. So my real name, people call me Lisa, but my real name is Lachi. And in my parents' country of Nigeria, they are specifically Igbo. And Lachi means ring of God. And I am not sure I live up to it.
That is very cool. That is very cool.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So it sounds like you're proud of your heritage and you're proud of where you're from. Is that true?
I mean, it's not everyone gets to really be ensconced in their heritage and really get to experience their roots. And so for that reason, I am very cognizant and aware of my heritage. And we go back often, even though I was born here in America, I do go back often to my home village. We have so much family still there. So, yeah, I wouldn't call it, I'm definitely proud of my heritage, but it's not like an active pride. It's just part of me.
Sure. No, I get it. Yeah. I think it's wonderful. We all have a story and we all come from somewhere. I'm of Greek descent, so I'm proud to say that I'm Greek, but, I think it's part of you and it's who you are and it's what makes you special.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about your music a little bit.
Right.
You play any instruments?
I play the piano, and I tell people that I play the guitar. If anybody puts me to the test, it will be a travesty. But it's piano and guitar mostly are the instruments I dabble in.
Okay. And then tell us a little bit about your songwriting process. Do you start with an instrument? Do you start with a melody? How do you typically start?
Well, it's different every time. So sometimes I will just be in the shower and just come up with a whole song and think it's amazing. And then when I sit down at my desk, I try to sing it again and it doesn't come out quite as lovely. Or I will be very studious and start from scratch sitting at my piano and trying to write a verse and a chorus and a hook. But it comes at different times. Some of my coolest tunes have just come from me humming something I thought was cool on the train and tapping the record button as I'm riding on the train and singing into it. Or I'll think up a great song and just totally forget it. And then one day it'll just randomly come back to me, and then I'll try to record it.
Yeah.
But there's so many different ways. But usually for me, it starts with the hook, chorus type of situation, and then I build out from there.
Yeah, I can definitely see that. You mentioned, I think one of the greatest advances, at least for me as a songwriter, is my iPhone. So I used to write on paper, and it was really weird for me to transition to writing on my iPhone or a computer. But once I did, I mean, that memo button about capturing melodies and things that you're like, this is the coolest melody ever, and then you forget it, like you said.
Yeah.
What an advance that is.
It really is, because I mean, a lot of times, many a time, I will be having writer's block, and then I'll just whip out the old phone and go through my old demos and my old ideas and just bring those back to light in a new mindset that I'm in to finish them. So that happens to me all the time. You're right. It's a great way to prevent writer's block, because you have this whatever note of a million phrases or ideas and titles, and I think that's a great secret. What's really funny too? Like before I had my phone, I would do this weird thing. I don't know how to explain it really, where if I came up with a melody, I would try to notate it like on paper, but not like sometimes I would draw the lines out and literally write the notes down, like the piano transcription. And that was pretty ridiculous, because I'm drawing like staff on a piece of paper so I can write the piano down. Or sometimes I had this weird number system where I would write 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a line, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then a line, and then 1, 2, 3, 4. And then above that, I would write the number of the solfege like note. So I'd be like, okay, 7 will come down on the 1 beat, and then 3 comes down on the 3rd beat. Yeah. It was ridiculous. And, I just tried to go back and read it maybe a month ago, just some of my old, no clue, no idea what kind of code I was trying to put together.
Yeah.
So thank God for these.
It's funny. I've been taking songwriting lessons with Jai Joseph for a couple of years now, like 4 years. And he would always yell at me because, I do the European 7, and there's all these shortcuts that I used to do, and, learning to write music the correct way. And it's been a challenge, but I get what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
What's your fondest musical memory as a kid, as an adult? Just what's the thing that really stands out for you?
Ooh, that's interesting. Some of my favorite memories are actually when I was in college. I studied some at University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill, and I lived in this dorm that had a piano in the lobby area. And, I wasn't necessarily a loner, but some weekends I'd just stay in and just play the piano in the lobby. And every once in a while I would garner some kind of crowd that would skid around. They'd be drunk, or they'd be coming back from a party. A guy and a girl would be holding hands, and they'd ask me for, they would request songs, or they would sit around and say, hey, play this while I sing this. And it was fun. It happened often, to the point where I was kind of known. People would actually come to the dorm on a Saturday night just to hang around and listen to me play cover tunes or play whatever. And so that's a pretty fond memory, because it was sort of my, the days when I started to really like to perform and go, I really like this, instead of whatever I was studying at the time. So definitely.
Well, I got to be honest, I'm from Chicago. So as soon as I heard North Carolina, I thought, did you ever meet Michael Jordan up there?
Oh man, the sad, I hate to just feed the cliche, but yes, he has a bunch of stuff over there. And one of the big things that was right across the street from my dorm was one of his restaurants. Yeah, he had opened up over there, and they were always throwing just parties or launches and stuff like that. So I did see him. It's not like I went up and shook his hand and took a picture. But he was always coming in and out with his, limousine and brigade of cars surrounding him and this and that. So
I'm sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's got Michael Jordan Steakhouse downtown Chicago on Michigan Avenue, which I love, but it's super expensive. It's like 100, $150 a person, so I don't get there that often. But
yeah, you got to really play ball when you go to his restaurants.
All right. Well, forget celebrities like sports guys. What about musicians? Who would you've played with some wonderful musicians, but is there someone that you, dead or alive, someone that you would really want to play with or sing with or perform with?
Somebody that I really look up to and have been heavily, heavily inspired by is Sia.
Yeah.
So she's a songwriter out here, and she's doing a lot of sort of dance music, EDM music. She's got some pop, she got urban. So she's very cross genre, and I like that a lot. And I like that she has very hooky, memorable hooks, but then there's also some depth to it. So I really would love to just be a fly on the wall in her studio, get her coffee, like whatever you do in the background. But she's definitely somebody that has heavily inspired me a lot. And if you want to say dead or alive, I was, growing up, I was a huge Beatles fan. And I was actually like pseudo obsessed with the Beatles. I don't know why. I think it was because my mom forced me to listen to the Beatles when she was driving me to like kindergarten or whatever, and then it just got stuck in my growth psyche.
Yeah. So well, at least your mom had great taste. I mean, it's the Beatles.
She did, but she kind of overdid it.
Okay, that's really cool. Do you get nervous performing in public at this point, or not really?
At this point, no. I never really ever got nervous performing, even way back in the beginning when I would, perform at the little talent shows at high school and middle school, because it was always just where I could finally express myself. Mm-hmm. And so it still kind of is. It's like I've always been so growing up, I was kind of like a quiet kid and studious and like a nerdy kid, which I'm like, who was that? Like, I don't study or do anything anymore. But so I would really find like freedom and the ability to like talk to others and say who I am whenever I performed my music. So that growing up, those were the only times I felt not scared. So it's kind of grown with me.
Yeah, that's cool. So first of all, us nerds have to stick together. So I'm a complete nerd, and I read I just saw the funniest video that I'm going to post tomorrow. Okay. I probably should be talking about it on the show, but there's a Star Wars bit with Kylo Ren, and they did a parody of Shallow from Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper. It is the funniest. It's so well done. I'm going to post it tomorrow. It was awesome.
Check it out.
You got to just Star Wars Kylo Ren Shallow parody. I'm gonna post it tomorrow if you want to check my page. But it is hilarious, and it's so well done. All I kept thinking was, why can't I make a video like this or a parody like this?
Right.
Oh, it's so good. Kylo Ren playing the guitar, and then it's great. Anyway, not to get distracted. How do you decide what song makes the cut? Do you have? I assume you have a bunch of things you're working on. Is there someone you bounce it off of? You call Patti LaBelle and say, "Hey, what do you think of this song?" Or
Pat, what do you think of this, Pat? Leave it on her message. Hey, it's me again. This is the 8th message. Call me back. No, so it kind of depends. If you're talking about what gets like released and picked up or put on a label, I mean, there's a billion people that say yay or nay before it gets there. But so if we're just talking about me by myself, what I end up doing is I will. If a producer, so these days, a lot of the way I work is I'll either receive a track from a producer or I'll receive a request from a producer to work with a certain chord progression or, things like that. So I do a lot of collaborating with other production companies, and then they'll come to me with something and say, hey, write this or write over this. Okay. So I'll end up having maybe like 4 or 5 ideas that I just lay down and then kind of start to find a common denominator, start to process eliminate, and eventually come to what I think is a great song. Then I'll go to like my manager and my management team and I'll ask them, hey guys, what do you think? Usually they like it. Every once in a while, Gary will be like, no, I don't like this. He'll just be very blunt about it.
Yeah.
And I'll say, hey, I just worked on this for, the past 2 days. And he's like, yeah, no. So, so I'll go back and I'll touch some things up. I like it when people tell me exactly what they don't like. Instead of saying like, hey, I don't like it, because then I have no feedback. But then after, if Gary and I both like it, we'll send it to the production company. If they like it, then they'll send it to the label. And then if there's so many steps before a song goes from my bedroom or my garage or whatever you want to call it, to the label's, distribution setup.
Sure.
So.
And Gary's a good guy to have in your corner, but you need someone who's blunt sometimes.
Yeah, you do. And Gary and I are no short of, back and forths. I'll put it that way.
Okay.
But he, it's good to have somebody that kind of believes in you, that tells you no, because it's they know that you can do well. So they're not just kind of throwing you out sort of thing. Like, okay, this sucks. They're saying, I know you can do better.
Yeah.
And it's not often that we don't agree on what we think is a good song. But when we don't agree, we definitely don't agree.
Yeah. And like you said, when people can give you a specific thing, like, I didn't like that chord progression or the melody or whatever, that's helpful, other than just, I just didn't like it. And you have like no idea what to even try to change.
Yeah, exactly. And I like it best if somebody does commission me to write a song, if they give me like a reference track, or they give me any kind of, hey, I don't want to write a lovey-dovey track. I want an empowering track, or I want to write about partying, and I want it to sound not exactly like this song by, Alicia Cara and Zed, but I want it to sound similar to. So that often always helps, especially if I'm writing a song for another singer.
Sure.
That was a big challenge for me, to get out of my own head and start writing for others. And it always helps to know what they like, what their vibe is, what they're into. So over the past year or so, when I've been working with a new singer, I give them this super long questionnaire. What are you into? What do you want to sound like? Do you have any clips of yourself? What are your 3 favorite things? Who do you hate? How do you deal with this and that? And then it gets me an idea of if they're a good girl, or if they're a bad boy, or if they're a sappy, lovey, so that always helps.
Okay. So before we get to your song, what's your favorite 80s jam?
What is my favorite 80s jam? Oh man, don't just whip that. Don't just make me have to decide. There was a song I was singing the other day, and I couldn't get it out of my head, and I cannot quite remember it at this moment right now. I got a song that's my favorite 90s jam in my. Oh, you know what I like? This is not going to be my favorite, but it's one that I really like a lot, and it's kind of a cop-out. But I'm going to have to say Bohemian Rhapsody.
Okay, it's not a cop-out. That's a great song.
It is not a cop-out. It is a great song, but it's also a very, there's a top 10 list of songs to choose from whenever someone says, what's your favorite 80s song? So, and it's got great chord progressions. It has intelligent chord progressions, and it has great songwriting. It has depth. You can relate to the songwriter because he's writing about something real and passionate. And then it's also very epic. You can sit here and you're being told a story. And, these days, a song longer than 4 minutes doesn't make the cut anymore. And I understand, because I myself am, a little ADD when it comes to music. Like, hello, get to the point. I want to jam. But I do miss the days of, let's climb this mountain together, and then let's denouement together. And that song does that very well as well.
Yeah. Okay. So tell us a little bit about the song we're going to hear. What inspired you to write it? And tell us the title, obviously, also.
So the song is called What I Want. And it is a bit of a female power anthem, but it's also just a party track. If you don't want to listen to the lyrics and just want to dance, then you've got that. But I wrote it because over the past year and a half, really since 2017, women have been stepping forward and really being strong and just saying what they want to say, taking charge of their, any of their brutal pasts. They're no longer afraid to just say it out. We have people coming into our Congress here in America, just taking charge and taking some of these seats politically and in the entertainment world. And that really inspired me to sing about this song, What I Want, which is basically about a woman, a girl walking into a club and seeing a guy she likes and saying, hey, you know what? I want you. Let's do this. As opposed to just, waiting for him to approach her or, all of the stigma that would have once, we would have once been considered, an itch bay for behaving in such a way or an utslay. But today, it's becoming normalized, and I really like that. And that's what this song is.
Yeah, awesome. And by the way, there's nothing wrong with that. So I think that's wonderful. So, all right, here we go. We're going to take a listen.
I wasn't lying when I came closer. You busy eyeing around and cola, but I'm the one that's thirsty on the low. I'ma be the worst one, and I know, I need you to observe me. I need you, I want you, confront you right here on display. I'm a taker, what's it take for you to look my way? I came all this way, I ain't gon' leave with my feelings hanging. You know what I want, you know what I want, you know what I want. I want that body. 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 They tell me I'm a different kind. You know what I want with no compromising. Oh, my mind made up, I go, and I know you know, I'm needing you to deserve me. You need it, you want it, confront it, do not make me play. No time to waste, so what's the case? Don't make me walk away. I came all this way, I ain't gon' leave with my feelings hanging. You know what I want, you know what I want, you know what I want. I want that body. 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 Give it to me. I want that body. I want that body. I came all this way, I ain't gon' leave with my feelings hanging. You know what I want, you know what I want, you know what I want. I want that body. I want that body. I want that body. You know what I want. I want that body. I want that body. You know what I want, you know what I want, you know what I want. You know what I want. You know what I want.
Wow, that was great vocals there. That's impressive.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
So I can see what you're talking about, that it could be an empowerment song or just a dance song, go crazy and ignore the actual lyrics, but the melody's cool. So you can do either.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And
my
you could
goal.
and you could probably do both. It just depends what mood you're in.
It just depends on the mood. Exactly. Exactly. How much you've had to drink.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about if you could pick Marvel or DC, like what would be your superpower? Who'd you pick?
Okay, first of all, I would pick Marvel, not to hate on any DC people, but I feel that Marvel is more creative, and I feel like DC is very yesterday. And if I could pick a superpower, what would it be? I think that I would, you know what would be really cool? So when I sing or whatever, I feel sort of like, I don't know how to say this. This is going to sound super whatever, but I feel kind of like like closeness to God. Like I feel like I'm praying. Like I feel a prayer to it somehow. And I feel like I'm in some kind of flow state. And so I feel like I'm kind of doing my purpose. So I don't know if that makes any sense. So I wish that my superpower would be I'd be able to take my finger and then zap someone, and then they are able to do whatever theirs is. And then like just keep zapping people, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, the world is like super efficient and everybody's doing exactly what they were supposed to be doing.
Okay, I'm sure you could have an influence on men. We're usually pretty sometimes unorganized or lazy, or we need people zapping us into existence. Yeah.
Right.
Do you have a favorite person that you follow on Instagram or Twitter or whatever your social media of choice is?
Do I have a favorite person I follow on Instagram and Twitter? I follow pretty much everyone you're supposed to follow. My guilty pleasure is Cardi B. So I follow her and all of her craziness. But one of my sort of, I guess, brand new obsessions is this woman named Kamala Harris. And she is a senator from California. And she recently decided that she wanted to run for president of the United States. And she doesn't have the biggest campaign. I think Bernie Sanders is our front running candidate right now. Sure. But she's an African-American female, and she's super intelligent. And I am totally obsessed with her right now. I'm like hanging on her every word, and I can't wait. I'm going to so volunteer for her if she ever comes through New York. And so I was telling my friends this, and they go, "Oh, Lachi, you're just saying this because she's a black female and you're a black female. You're so cliche." And I was like, you know what? No, it's because when she sat down and started talking, she sounded like me. She sounded like down to earth, a little bit sarcastic, and so I really related to her. So I like Kamala Harris a lot. I'm obsessed with her social media, and that's the person that I'm, sneak in love with right now.
Okay, that's cool. Sarcasm is good, by the way. I'm all about sarcasm, so I can respect that.
I was told that if you're two things that guarantee that somebody's an intelligent person is A, if they're sarcastic, and B, if they talk to themselves. So I do both of those.
Okay. You got to convince her to write like her campaign song or something. You got to do like a power anthem for her or something.
Yeah, I need to somehow wheedle my way into her midst and figure out a way to be her somehow. Yeah. I'm going to sneak into her apartment and wear her clothes. It's going to be weird. Yeah.
All right. So you're in New York, right? So how many parks would you say are in New York? Any idea?
How many parks?
Yeah.
Maybe anywhere, give or take, plus or minus about 5 plus or minus of around 1 million. Yeah. There's so many. Yeah. Well, there's so many, and then within each park, there's little sections that are so different from other sections that you just, each park has just parks within it.
Yeah, especially Central Park. My God, that thing is huge.
Central Park is huge in Manhattan. Prospect Park is huge in Brooklyn. I think McCarran Park is the big Queens Park. So each borough has its monstrous park. But even then, if you walk down Broadway on Manhattan, every 6 to 8 blocks is another notable park.
Yeah.
Square and Herald Square, and then Madison Square, and then Washington Square, and so then Union Square. I'm not going to leave out Square, but there's so many parks, and it's ridiculous.
All right, what's your go-to comfort food?
I like salmon and cream cheese on. It's salmon and cream cheese on almond crackers. Is my and you know what? And it sounds healthy, but it's not, because they're just super fattening. But I'm obsessed with smoked salmon, and then I'm also obsessed with cream cheese, and then I'm also obsessed with almonds, hence the almond crackers. Put them all together, and you have me on a couch pretending I'm eating healthy, but really just not.
There's no reason to pretend. I kind of eat whatever I want, and I figured, hey, it is what it is.
It is. We live once,
Yeah.
I mean, I get equal amounts of pleasure exercising and running, so I'm like, let me allow myself to have that pleasure, taking away all of the exercise I just did.
I'm the same exact way. I work out so I could eat, basically.
Exactly.
I work out a lot, but it's just to eat, basically.
Just to eat. Like, you get it. He gets it.
I get it. Tell us a little bit about your next trip. You going anywhere cool? Are you gigging somewhere? Or is it,
Yeah, well, okay. So the last place I was Russia. It's going to be tough to beat that.
That is really cool.
It was like, well, actually the last place I was Finland, but Russia was the memorable part. I went to St. Petersburg, and you just cannot beat St. Petersburg. You can't beat it. It's just, there's so much history there. It's a combination of amazing history and tourist traps. So it's basically New York, but in Russia, and it's perfect. So that was amazing. And then, I went to Finland. So I've been taking a bit of a sit down. I was my manager went out to LA, and I was supposed to go with him. And then I was like, you know what? I got to sit down and just calm down for a second. And, but I think that my next trip might be out to Phoenix, just to do the whole Grand Canyon thing. And I have a few musician friends out there that I want to visit. And so I feel like it's winter over here. Let's go somewhere sunny for a bit.
Yeah, Grand Canyon's a cool trip. You'll definitely remember it.
Yeah. If I can manage not to fall in.
Yeah, don't fall in. Actually, when I was there, it is insane. People are like right on the edge taking selfies. And I always see articles about people dying. And it's just like, you could be like 5 feet away from the edge.
Yeah.
On a selfie, they can't tell that you're not like right up against it.
Yes.
Crazy.
Yeah. Thank you. If we can't tell that you're, we can't even tell when people are, 10 kilometers away from the Hollywood sign. So you're fine. You don't have to fall into the Grand Canyon for 16 likes on, Facebook.
That's so true. So one of the questions I like to ask every guest on the show is, we're a community and we all want to help each other. Tell us about a scam that you fell for that you want to warn us about.
A scam that I fell for that I want to warn you guys about. God, I don't really want to put names on blast or anything. But, a big kind of common, oh God. Let me think, because I want to give you a real one, like something that's actually palpable, but
I like because a real one.
Right. Well, because at the end of the day, you should never. There are some things that you should definitely pay for in music. So you should, if you're not already signed to a big label or signed to a big management company, you should pay for PR. That is, they're doing a service that you should pay for. You should pay for a graphic design, because that is a service and they're actually giving you something. But if they're not giving you a cold, hard service that is kind of tangible, that you can't just kind of walk away with PR, they have a certain amount of newspapers or articles that they get you in. With graphic design, they give you a flyer or a whatever. But you shouldn't be paying someone up front for work that is not a tangible, I'm receiving a good. Unless they sit there and they give you, actionable referrals that you can look up. You know what? Here you go. This is the perfect advice that I could give someone. If you ask someone for referrals or for anything else, and they either get an attitude with you, or they get upset with you, or they get, well, how dare you? Or they try to make it your fault, like you try to get an opportunity and you ask them for more info, or you ask them for help or for their referrals, and they say, you know what, I don't want to do this for you anymore because you're asking too many questions. Yeah. They were going to be a scam. They were going to be a scam.
Isn't it funny how they get mad at you and yell at you when you ask them for references? Or the other thing I love is when you pay for a service, they're supposed to do something, they don't do it, and then somehow it's your fault.
Right.
Clearly outlined, like that they're going to do whatever, retargeting ads, or they're going to do, get you in, a little blog or something, and then somehow it always ends up being your fault.
Right. And that's when you know that you're not working with someone that's able to deliver. So always make sure you do as much as you can to pay via credit card or PayPal or something that's trackable.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's a shame that stuff goes on, and if the old adage is true, I mean, it's sad to think. I've been so naive for most of my life, and I believe people, and you get a little hardened with age, but at the end of the day, your word is your bond, right? And it's crazy that people are like that.
It is too, because the sad part of it is that it's the leaps of faith that usually are the best things, in your music career or in whatever art you do. And so you never want to stop kind of believing, you never want to be dulled to it, because there is still that magic there of, okay, this might be the thing and that might be the thing. It's never going to be your normal routine that's going to blow you up. It's always going to be some sort of leap you took. And it sucks because people know that, and then they, pray that.
Well, and the thing is, right, if something's working, you're going to be a lifelong customer and you're going to look for a long-term relationship with someone, but they don't care. They look at it as a numbers game, right? How many people can I scam to get this many? Yeah, it's crazy.
This and that. I mean, me now, I have a legal, I'm litigious. And so I've gone after at least 2 situations where I actually had to get a lawyer involved, and won in both cases. So that's good. But then, the hassle is just so draining.
Yeah.
Such a waste of time.
Yeah. In years. I mean.
Yeah. I'm still trying to wait anyway, whatever. So.
Yeah. All right. I got one last question for you before we talk about your website. So you're running the New York Marathon. You got half a mile to go. What song are you blasting on your iPhone or iPod or whatever you got?
Ooh, what song am I blasting? What am I really loving right now, this instant? Man, you're really getting me with some of these things. I wish I had my Spotify up, but I guess I would be cheating. I would probably be blasting. Oh, God. I would be blasting. There's some Mac Miller songs that I'm obsessed with right now. There are a few Nicki Minaj songs. It's when I'm exercising or running, I tend to listen to hardcore I'm better than you hip hop.
Yeah, that's a good genre to run to.
Right. It was funny because my friend was like, "Oh, I don't like Nicki Minaj because why am I going to listen to somebody tell me oh, I've got all this expensive stuff and I'm so much better than you and I'm pretty and you're not." And I was like, oh, well, when I listen to it, I'm pretending I'm Nicki Minaj. So I'm Nicki Minaj in this scenario. So yeah, probably just like probably a Minaj tune or something angry and something angry over a trap beat is what I'd be listening to. I'm thinking I'm better than everyone right now. Until I go to the finish line and realize like I was the last one to pass it and be like, hey, was no one else stopping to sift through their playlist?
Yeah. All right. Tell us where can the listeners find out more information about you and where can they buy your music?
They can find me at Lachi Music. So Lachi, lachimusic.com. They can find me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook and YouTube at Lachi Music. Or you can find me on SoundCloud and Spotify if you search Lachi. And I just released What I Want on February 22nd. It's already got over 32,000 plays on Spotify, and we just released it 4 days ago. Super excited about that. And it got on a editor's pick playlist, so very excited. And then we also just released Go with Matic, which is a drum and bass, yesterday. And that got premiered on Your EDM and UKF, so very excited about that. So find me on Lachi Music and comment and let me know what you think, because I am super duper annoyingly active on Instagram and Twitter. So if you talk to me, I talk back, I at back. So there.
That's wonderful. All right, Lachi. It was great having you on the show tonight. I want to thank you for being on the show and all the success in the world.
Thank you so much.
Okay. Have a great night.
You too.
So in closing out the show here, before we listen to another song, I just want to thank everyone for listening in tonight. To any listeners that may be artists, if you wish to be on the Songwriter Show, I invite you to submit the interview request form on songwritershow.com or just email me personally at sarantos@songwritershow.com. Thank you again for listening, and I hope your own unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos, and please join us every Tuesday night to hear amazing artists share their stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And I'm going to leave you with a song called A Child's Mind. We're going to hear that right now.
Help me, please shelter me. As a child, I was so young and free. I felt so confident as you carried me. You held me so close and always believed. You instilled in me a sense of purpose and destiny. The world is black and white, as seen through the eyes of a child. Innocence so pure it lasted for a while. I miss the day, the calm you let me feel. You always believed in me and made everything so real. I miss being a child. I miss feeling a bit wild. No care in the world for me. A child's mind open for all to see. A child's mind is so young and free. A child will always believe. A child's mind must belong to you and me. The years have passed on, many days have come and gone. My intentions once good, my actions now sometimes wrong. Once wide-eyed and full of spunk, now so negative and always drunk. Lost looking in the rain for that childlike innocence again. I miss being a child. was feeling a bit wild. No care in the world for me, a child's mind open for all to see. A child's mind is so young and free. A child will always believe. A child's mind must belong to you and me. A child doesn't know how to lie. It used to be mine.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.